Hello, everybody. Welcome or welcome back in a new episode of The Point of View. Here we are with a friend now because we had already a conversation with this researcher that we knew and we talked about Tartarian things, other stuff like geopolitical things. And I'm really happy to see you again, Mr. Philipp Druzhinin. Hi, how are you?
Hello, Adrian. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We started this new year with a ban, so we are a little stopped now. But that's good to know because it seems that we are in the good way. When the system try to opposite you, it seems that this is what happened actually. So continue on our way. And I would like to talk with you. I have some question actually from the last interview that we did. And a friends of mine asked to me if I can ask to you actually, what about the story of Gengis Khan? If can be related and connected with the Slavic invasion, no? Because you said in the last interview that northern Italian people is really similar to Montenegrians, Slavic people, So he says to me, can you ask to Philip if Gengis Khan in some way is related in this story? So what do you think about it?
Well, we cannot confirm nor, reject the concept of Genghis Khan that he was actually a living person, right? So we have no evidence that he was in existence. Right now, we have some reference to his name, and we even have some people trying to picture him or present him on some sculpture and stuff like this. What I've seen, actually, he doesn't look very Asian, doesn't look Mongolian at those, images and sculptures. You can find them on the internet, actually. And the name Chengiz is just the part of the name. The second part is Khan. And Khan is actually a military leader in Tartarian ranking or range, I would say, so positioning. So he's a top military commander, I would say. And therefore, is just the second part of the name. So could there be a person who had the name Chengiz? Of course could, because currently we have plenty of people having this name. So could he actually be a Mongolian commander who brought his hordes of, armed military horsemen through thousands and thousands of kilometers of Asian deserts and steppes? Actually, steppes is like, um, like savanna where you have little grass,
Yeah.
stuff like this. So I don't know what was the feeding base of that army. Was it that big? Was it 300,000 horsemen or was it 10,000 horsemen? We can't confirm that. So yeah, of course there were some archaeological evidence of existence of such army, or maybe a made up evidence. Who knows, actually, because all this archaeology could be just finding something that was plucked into the ground in certain places just to be found somewhere sometime at a certain point, just to back up some narrative that would could be not actually relevant to what we see in from other sources. And therefore, if we actually refer to Mongolia, and we could find that themselves, the Mongolians, didn't know that they'd been called Mongolians almost till the beginning of 20th century when Soviets came to Mongolia. So could they actually be the conqueror of the whole Asia? Why not? Maybe partly some of them could be related to somebody who was living on the northern parts of Chinese Tartaria or Mongolia, whatever you could call it. But also we know that Mogol is a Greek word for being great. So Mogol Tartaria, which could be actually misspelled to Mongol Tartaria, actually re-edited, could be actually Great Tartaria. So just take out the N in the middle of world Mongol. You say you got Mongol Tartaria. You also got Mongol Empire, the Empire of Great Mongols in India. So that word was actually used in that area and was actually existing. So maybe it's all related to some certain concept. And I'm not sure who was Genghis Khan or who was he not, because we are talking about edited sources and re-edited sources, and we don't have the access to these documents currently. We don't have anything to judge, any evidence, except that these references of comments of somebody to who saw something somewhere. I wasn't one of them, so that's my point of view. I think Mongol Tartarians could be 100% relevant to what we see on the maps as a Great Tartaria. Why not? But Mongolian, was Genghis Khan or was he not? Was he a real person or was he not? Is a questionable topic. So it's not for me to answer that topic. I'm not qualified enough.
Okay, okay, yeah. I said this because a friend of mine that live in Finland, and he knows some people from Russia. He say, but you still talking about Genghis Khan? You don't know that people maybe from Russia also say that Genghis Khan don't know if it really exists. So this is a story from for the Europe. This is a story from Italian people that believe it, but actually we don't have any evidence about it. So it's something like Tartaria, how we said in the last time. No, it's a misunderstanding or something similar. Yeah.
Well, of course, but were there Caucasian Indo-European race people found on the Far East anywhere? The answer is yes, multiple times, multiple burial places, multiple jewelry, all this related to Scythian culture. Scythian culture is slightly, or maybe not slightly, but directly related to Illyrian culture, the culture that you've been talking in the beginning, where northern Italy, Serbia, Macedonia, all this, northern Greece was connected in one culture. And all this was connected to Ukrainian Scythian culture, which was spread out to the Far East. So could there be some ex-Caucasian Scythians who left there and work in a high military Scythian aristocracy? Maybe. Could they be called Khans? Yes, maybe. Who knows? And these guys could be actually related to the Europeans. And that's why such a big army of horsemen was fed along the way, because they were relatives. They were riding on their own territory of their allies. That's the only explanation, because you cannot, travel with this type of, horsemen without any preparation of food for these horses. It's ridiculous if nobody even counts that. With no roads, nothing, snow. Just imagine what this horse is going to be doing in the field when the snow, who's going to feed them, actually.
Yeah, sure. So last time we talking about also the resets. We say that next reset can be for economics, something economic way. No, they have to change our financiary system. But we say that in the past maybe some resets happened also to change our memory in some way, because maybe in the past we have more of a lot of more technologies or consciousness about our reality in some way. So what do you think that we knew actually in the past that we have to reset, that we need to forget? I mean, we know about technologies that now we cannot use. So I don't know if I understand, because my English is sometimes is really going somewhere in the air. But what I want to say is why they did this reset in the past. Because a lot of people say, yeah, our story is full of technologies that now we forget it. Maybe they made this reset to let forget us these technologies. And what kind of technologies?
Well, I want you to answer some questions for me, but only briefly, like yes or no. What do you think is easier control? A smart group of people or a dumb group of people?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, this question start because in the past, when I start to study Tartarian things, other things about our story, I noticed these maps of Urbano Monte and also Mercator, no? And I saw that Africa, it was this one, it
Hmm.
wasn't totally desert, no? It was full of rivers, full of lakes, and
Yep.
also the north, it was without ice, not iced. But this maps is from 1500 or something similar, and they say to us that yeah, the desert and the ice place need some million or some thousand of years to create it, no? So I said maybe they make this reset to let us forget that we had the possibility to do it before in some smaller time, these things, maybe with unknown technologies. What
Well,
do you think about
prob-
it?
probably we have to refer to their actual belief system. And current belief system of this elite class is called the ecologism. It's a scientific definition, by the way. Ecologism is when you praise the ecology, nature, when you praise it above all the social systems that we have, including the human system. And of course, humans are not wanted element in this system. That's why I've been talking about World Economic Forum, World Wildlife Foundation, and so on. All this stuff are the base element of this ecologism system. They are attracting huge fundings to perform and implement different programs, including vaccination programs, including uh, different education programs, which degrade the education to the levels uh, that are right now in demand for this system, because nobody wants to control the smart. Everybody wants to control the dumb because they are not smart, by the way, as some people getting born in the general public. Some people can get creative, and their job is to find these people, unplug them from the system, and take them under control, put them some projects, give them some budget, just lead them to some research, I don't know, just to shut them down, just to pay them and totally buy them so they can be a sellout to the system and actually be controlled. That's how they manipulate this stuff. But anyways, what I've been saying is that our life is consistent of several parts. First part is the part when we receive the primary education, right? It's when we go to the kindergarten or school, elementary school, middle school, high school, whatever you call it, is just this educational system. In the end of this stage, we go to the next level, which is called the higher education system, which is like colleges, universities, institutes, and so on, so on, so on, MBAs. But actually, when you go to this second stage, first thing you hear from them, from this, you know, education opinion leaders like teachers and professors, what they tell you is what you learned at school ain't nothing. You're supposed to forget this stuff. We have all this brand new information for you. Just look at this. This is whole advanced situation information, blah, 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 blah. And you waste your time for 4 years actually not even receiving the practical knowledge. Sometimes you spend like 6, 7 more years after you receive the degree, like a doctor degree. You go to the hospital, you spend 6 more years practicing, you know, actually working for half payment, But it's the capitalist system when you have this integration of the slavery elements where you pay for receiving the payment in the future, which is like, what? It's like paying taxes for what you have as a property is also like, what? This is all elements of this slavery system that we had before, and it's totally we are totally tolerant to this. We don't even mention it anymore. We just forgot about what we pay for what and for whom. And this is just situation. After the education, we go to practice and work, and we find out that what we know isn't enough. You have to be qualified to pretend you are some specialist of some kind without any letters of confirmation that you have been practicing several years, not even receiving a payment, blah blah blah, very good specialist, blah blah blah. Okay, you spend so many time just to receive these letters, and finally you find out that you're not qualified because some other guy who already works somewhere takes this job from you, and you might spend several years finding that you're not qualified. And I believe that's a crisis in some capitalist countries like USA, Canada, whatever, you name it. People spending money in college, or maybe taking as student loan, right? And they have to pay this credit after they're done studying, actually, but they can't because they cannot get the job they were supposed to get. And this is ridiculous because some parties actually have this as an element of win the elections when they say, we're gonna release this student debt. You will not have to pay like 10,000 from this debt. Oh, very cool. We're gonna vote for these Democrats. These guys are cool. But literally somebody else pays this anyway. Those new students, their parents, these students paying credits after that. And it's just ridiculous system. When you pay to learn how to make money, this is a scam. In general, in economic crimes, this system is a scam from the beginning. And therefore, we are wasting 14, 15, 20 years to receive the education we don't need, to get the payment we won't get. Sometimes it's 80%, in some areas even more, people not even receiving the jobs because of high demand and low demand and high proposition. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I notice also here that a lot of people that study for a lot of time, at the end they finish in some kitchen to do the wash disher, So you just pay for doing wash dishing, so you can do it before without studying a lot and spend a lot of money. That's sure, but yeah. What can I say? When I try to study a bit in the past, I can find a lot of strange things, like we say in the past, in the last interview when we're talking about the building, the technologies, how they built this building. It was really weird. I also was in this. Because I live in the center of the Italy. In the center of the Italy, we have a lot of Etruscan style, and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I was in these little places called Orvieto, Narni, and Orte, and all these places are in the on top of a little hill, But you can see that underground they have like 1,000 of caves, and I start to ask to me, but it's noticed somewhere that Etruscan used to live underground their city. What do you know about it?
Well, I'm not sure I know anything about it. But I've heard about some cave systems. Yes, of course. If you have a reset, some people do survive, and some people may use some cave systems. Why not? So maybe they can, use maybe some tunnels of the previous streets, and a bunch of communications under each city. So if they know, they're gonna use it. And we found a bunch of examples in Turkey where just a huge, like, 2, 3, 4, 5 layer underground systems with like a
Yes,
big
exactly.
pockets in them, with these water resource out. They have rivers there where they go and get, some certain wells where can get the water from, clean water. Ventilation is working perfectly. I mean, fresh air everywhere. No signs of any candle or fire, which means either of these people were had some night vision, could be seen in the night like cats do, or they use something like electricity, maybe wireless electricity, maybe something. But they're supposed to have light down there. It's a big construction, underground construction. So, but no marks of candle, no fire. I mean, if that would be illuminated by candles, you would have all this ceiling very black color. So I think it's worth looking, and I hope you go there and film that. Maybe tag me. We can watch what you filmed. Maybe I'll have some, my opinion on what you filmed.
Yeah, but when I was in this place, we were with a guide, no, with a girl that explained what happened inside this cave, no, and I remember this little boy. That's yeah. I think to study the past, you have to think about a young boy without construction around you, because this guy noticed this well, how you say, this very high well, like 40 meters or something similar, but really small and square. So he asked to this girl, but how they can do it so deep and so square and so small in their past with just the hammer or something similar, no? And they say, oh, that's a good question, guy. This is a really good question. But yeah, that's show again that maybe they have some different technologies to do this stuff. It's not like they said, like they say to us, that they just pick with their things, their tools. Is really stupid tools to do it. No, that's impossible for me. Also, the things that you say in the cave, that I noticed the same things in the Egypt. When I was in Egypt, I noticed this big cave, really deep, really long, and they asked to me, but how they can burn a fire inside here that take out all the oxygen, no? And you cannot breathe inside there. So
Mhm.
that's weird.
Yeah, it looks like they didn't use it, right? Or it wasn't the way, it wasn't officially correctly explained, I would say. Maybe it was just technological tunnels where people were not even using them, right? Because sometimes they have strange forms, strange, if you cut the pyramid and you see the blueprint of these tunnels, you find out that it's looking strange. It's looking like a technological something, like a chemical plant, I would say. My guess is that all this complex in Giza is a chemical plant. So anyway, but what you're saying about ventilation is correct, because if somebody is walking with candles, with this fire, you burn all the oxygen. How are you supposed to breathe in these caves? It's impossible, right? So it has to be like, some pump system, right? Because if you have this smoke everywhere, you would be poisoned by the CEO, these carbon monoxide, and you're gonna die. You're gonna die while sleeping, because this is impossible. This is how it is. People are dying in the cars just because they don't
Yeah.
shut the cars, and you're supposed to be sleeping in a case where everybody's burning the fire. Are you sure about that? Uh, well, go ahead with the next question. I think we discussed it.
Yeah, yeah, well, we know about some people that try also to suicide themselves with the air of the car, no, inside the garage, maybe.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this is the
yeah, yeah,
same things.
yeah. I know.
Yeah, but
I know one person who did it. Yeah, actually, it's working. It's working.
yeah, yeah. But when I was in Egypt, had this question on my mind always when I walk on the sand, no? On this hill composed by sand. and they say the important build the important building of Egyptian history, it's all deep 100 meters under the sand, no? And they say,
Hmm.
but how can happen here? What can happen here? Because when you go there, you just can see, you just can travel and enter inside this temple from the superficial layer. Cioè,
Hmm.
if we have the temple underground, you have some meters to go up, and they open a hole on top of the hill, and they show you only the hole that they create to see the temple. You cannot go that deep, no? But they say to you, oh yes, down there are a lot of caves, maybe some kilometers of tunnels there, blah, blah. And they say, but how is possible? Why they have to construct something so deep, no? It seems that maybe they build something deeper, and then the sand came to cover everything, no? Like maybe a kind of uh, mud flood, but with the sand. What do you think about it?
Well, we see on the pictures that the Giza, complex was a little bit covered with the sand, and the Sphinx was, pretty deeply covered. Almost only head was sticking out. Right. Right now, it's all excavated, so perhaps the pyramids and other stuff was also, kind of covered with sand fractions. But anyway, the sand can travel. We know it. In the deserts, the sand is traveling very fast with the wind. So where's that sand actually came from? If we see on the maps that there was a whole bunch of cities there, probably a lot of forests, rivers, lakes, where all this sand could have come from, right? Could have come from, I don't know. But we have the Mediterranean Sea nearby, right? What do we have on the bottom of the sea? We have sand, right? If we
Sure.
can prove in somehow, in some way, that this sand is equal to the sand that is in the Mediterranean Sea, or could be brought from there as a dredging procedure or whatever, when somebody was cleaning the bottom for something. As I've been saying, there's a whole bunch of technologies of growing metals on the bottom of the seas, some sorts of different metals. Japanese already testing this technology, is working. So you can grow, like on the grids, little metal concrements which can be vacuumed after they're grown enough. So maybe somebody was mining it and also dumping the all this sand on the northern coast of Africa, just to get rid of these local folks that were messing around. As we know, mining corporations don't actually like people. They don't treat them well, especially these indigenous tribes in Southern America, North America, wherever you can find mining. All these people are also in trouble. They're messing around with these miners. Miners are attacking them sometimes, maybe poisoning the water, whatever. It's all related to business and money. If you can actually track that, sand is from Mediterranean. If that's just my theory, that it could be brought from there as a dump of something, and then it was spread out throughout this northern part of Africa and became the desert. Therefore, these deposits of fresh water that were found underneath Libya, which Gaddafi was supposed to pump out and sell to the northern Africa, as he was already creating the pipeline and his deposits were supposed to be working soon after the time he was attacked and taken down. All these Libyan water deposits could be just the deposits of these rivers that were buried underneath this sand as an underground huge basin of fresh water. Those ex river systems that they had on these maps that you've been showing. So why not? And could that be a good competitor to the Western civilization that is right above the sea? Could that be somehow related to Hanseatic or Venice or Genoa or any trading union? Could these mining corporations be somehow related to this? Could. If we see many tracks of these miners, we can guess that they were also technological back in the days and could be making these huge dumps of sand on the shore and therefore poisoning the system, the nature, the ecology of the area, and therefore creating deserts in the ways that we see today.
Yeah, sure. But what the second question that came in my mind in that place in Egypt, I mean, it was coming because I like to go with the metal detector, how I said you last time, no? And we know when you're going to find something from a Roman emperor or something similar, you have to go minimum 20 centimeters underground, and you can start to find the coin of Roman emperor. But if we put the Roman emperor 2000 years ago, the things that going 100 meters underground, so what time did this hit? I was thinking maybe that was what I answer to my question on myself, and I said it is possible maybe that the story that we know about Egyptian is more close to us. Is more close, not maybe like 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, but maybe really more close to us. And the things that we see really down, really underground, like 100 meters, is the things that we can date with 2,000 years ago. Maybe I don't know if I explain what I
Well,
want to say.
yeah, I
Yeah.
got you. Well, there's phenomenon or anomaly, I would say, where if you have a field where, doing agriculture, you collecting the rocks almost every year, every season. Each and every season, you collecting these rocks, and you just, might be thinking, who is throwing the rocks on my field? But no, rocks are popping out through the soil. There's some phenomena, and I think some of this stuff that is on the ground somehow being pressed out to the top. That's why you can probably find it not as deep as you wish to find. And probably you're right, because officials could be dating this just like, I would say, spitting on the ceiling on this method of diagnosis of the dating, like how far you can spit and how good is and sticky is your spit on the ceiling. That's how long it's supposed to be. And that's how they date it, actually. But, it's just ridiculous. Somehow they say, like, the deposit of cultural layer equals to 1 centimeter per year. So equals 100 centimeters equals 100 years. So concerning your question, 20 centimeters is 20 years, which is ridiculous. If you find these Roman coins, you're supposed to be a Nobel Prize winner or something, because you totally debunk this cultural layer historical narrative, and you should document that and tag them each and every time with this cultural layer, cultural layer, cultural layer. What about that? And so on. But anyway, I see people also with metal detectors. They walking around the fields and stuff like that, finding something. I believe they actually can find something. But my point of view, that the best witness of the date is a tree which has circles, which you can compare to other trees you find, and create this dendrochronology. And as far as it can go, I believe it's like 700,000
Yeah.
years right now. That is totally correct. If you find a tree where you can find something like jewelry or a sword or a helmet or something, you can probably say, yeah, it's somehow related to this tree. Maybe it's close like 100 years. plus minus 150 years and so on. So that's kind of correct, I would say, if you find that near the tree and so on. But to your question, I'm not sure if this doesn't work this way that I started this answering the question, that is just popping up through the soil, and could be a lot less deeper than you wish it would be. That's my point of view.
Yeah, I can say also that in the beginning, when I start to go with my metal detector, I live in a place that I think that doesn't go to reset. I think that this place is really old. I live in the on top of the mountain, in the middle of the center of Italy, no? And when I walk on the garden in my in the garden of the hill, I saw a coin of 800 on top of the grass. It's not deep. It's there. And they say that's really strange. Or somewhere, or someone can lose it, no? But there are no people around here. So yeah, that's mean that the things of 200 years ago, we can find it really easily around us. So the things that we find, like 10 or 15 centimeters underground, maybe we can say that it's dating related to the, non lo so, maybe 1000 on the medieval time. But yeah, that's, we have to study a little bit more this stuff, because I notice also that talking with my friend that study agriculture, he say that it's not correct to count the years of the year of the tree with the rings. They always wrong when they do it, no? And that's, for me, is totally new, because I never heard about it. And I say that you have to count the I don't know how to say, but something different, not the rings. So in this way, he say that we don't. Yeah,
Exactly. They are
yeah.
not counting the exact rings, because you cannot compare this way. They compare the distance between rings on different trees. If they are relevant to each other, then they can understand that these trees somehow were intersected in time. Maybe this tree was 200 years old and this tree was 100 years old, and they find the same distance between the circles. That's how all this tree chronology can be created through the time for at least 1,000 years.
Okay. Well, I have to study a little bit more also about the trees, because I think that we really know little bit of our trees. How we don't know, for example, if giant trees exist. What do you think about the giant trees?
Well, there was a concept of these silicon trees, silicon era trees, like totally saying that all these table mountains that we witness today are the stumps of the X trees. And we kind of spent some time on this theory with some other researchers, and I've been talking to the guy who made a video. There are no forests on flat earth, which gained around several million views in several versions and translations and so on. So that video was kind of popular in 2015, 16, I don't remember actually. But this concept was a little wrong. It doesn't understand the several points that this huge biosphere, like huge gigantic creatures, supposed to feed somehow. So also there are some other things, like atmospheric pressure, which is not relevant to such height. If it was possible, then we have to claim that the atmospheric pressure was different. Then we can say, okay, that is possible, and we can research it. But nobody actually showed any evidence of this huge change in atmospheric pressure. Okay, there's no scientific explanation for that yet, and no alternative researcher has any qualification to do that. And so I think this is not really relevant to what we observe. What we observe is mining evidence, and probably some trees could be bigger than the trees that we have today, but not gigantic like we see the stump of a devil mountain. This is just ridiculous. So maybe I can assume there was like several of these trees on each continent. Maybe this is related to Avatar, but I don't want to actually participate in this propaganda because it's backing up this mining concept that you can go to some place, just mine, grab stuff and whatever. Yeah, you're gonna have a trader who betrays you and helps the locals, and they gonna kick your ass. But really, this is not happening. This is just another false idea that has been plugged to some people's minds, that somebody's gonna come and help you from these miners that are ripping you off, taking all your resources from your country, and just leaving you just a couple of cents or pennies to survive and not to die just right now. That's my point of view.
Yeah, it can be actually, because we don't have any evidence about it, it's sure. But I noticed, for example, that wood, can be really similar to rocks in the long time. No, if you see the wood of 1,000 years ago, if you can find it, sure, but you can see that it's really similar, because he lose all the water inside and going to be a rock in some way. So yeah, I was thinking that, but this is my idea, maybe it's so stupid, but when you see this big they call it also devil tower, no, something similar, you can see some of them have this little cave inside, the little houses, no, and you try to explain how they do it, how they did it, how they can doing this cave inside these rocks. And I was thinking, maybe in the past, if this was a trees, it was really easy to take a cave inside of this big tree. And when they cut the tree starts to come a rock. So that's why you can have the cave inside rock. But that's my idea. Maybe it's stupid.
Well,
what do you think about it?
Well, first of all, when we discussed these questions, we also discussed that also. This was one of the first questions that we have. And I was walking around the forest and finding a whole bunch of tree stumps, picturing how they lay. We don't see most of the trees lay different. Even if you cut the tree, you have some leftovers from the tree. And so therefore, there's supposed to be some different, not just like this correctly stable type of stump. No. Most of the trees in the forest lay different. Most of the stumps lay different. Trees are not always cut, right? Some trees just die because if you don't have huge forests, who would be so stupid to cut the single tree they have, right? So if that's the only tree there, no other trees, who would be cutting this tree actually? Who would be so stupid? No explanation, no logical explanation there. So, but the miners could take down the tree just to get some deposits or something. Maybe, yeah, you're right, trees can get petrified and become a rock. And we have a guy who is actually walking around the mountains and finding these tree parts of the trees which look similar to cedar tree, that he also shows, and the structure and the form is equal to cedar. These big trees that is Venice is built upon. The foundation of Venice is built from cedar trees, which is not growing in Venice, so it's supposed to be brought from somewhere from probably Russia. Well, anyway. Yeah, all this stuff is ridiculous actually. And so the miners did a bunch of things, and you can say that you can also cut a huge cave in a rather wet mining byproduct stockpile. Like it can look like a hill, but it cannot be petrified just like this. It's supposed to lay down there for several centuries to get petrified into a rock, or maybe partly petrified. Maybe some of it will collapse eventually, who knows. So, but you can surely dig a cave in some pasta type of concrete mud, which is not yet really dry, but is still kind of soft, right? Because you've seen a dry clay in the ground. If you dig a well where you can bring the water from, you can see a clay there on the sides, and it's rather dry. It's easy to dig in, so you can probably dig pretty fast a huge cave for yourself, and maybe it's drying out, becoming more firm and solid. Maybe you can use it for some, whatever. So I think it's all because of that, not only because the trees are soft. It could be anything that can be actually processed by simple instruments.
Yeah, yeah. So last time we talked about mud flood, no? We talk about what can compose this mud flood and why someone use it, or maybe for what they someone use the clay for to. How say to hide the corpse that maybe have a virus inside, and not to extend the infection to other people or other stuff, no? But I would like to ask you, if you want, sure, to explain a little bit more this mud flood evidence, like, for example, because a lot of people ask to me, but how can come, how can burn this mud flood?
Well, simply, you can take mud from any river, right? With the dredger. Dredger is just, some certain ship that has a pump that is sucking all this mud and sand from the river bottom, which is actually clean the river for the navigation. Because if you don't clean the river is all dirty, and it's gonna be flooding the area. All the water is gonna be flooding. So when the spring comes, water comes from the mountains, and the river raises, and city is flooded. So that's why you have to clean the rivers. And first thing I've seen, that 19th century is full of these floodings. A bunch of floodings in St. Petersburg, you name it. Just any city has a bunch of records of flooding. So nobody was maintaining the rivers for centuries. That doesn't sound well for me. So I don't think that is correct. I think they were maintaining the rivers. They can clean it, and they probably had some technology to do that. Maybe some certain pumps, maybe something else. If they were mining the area, they probably had energy sources. So probably they could be using in the river maintenance, and that's similar to mining equipment and so on. So you can use this river dredging byproduct as sand, clay, mud, whatever you name it. It can be used in construction, in road construction, like in railroad construction. It can use anywhere, not just a waste from the river cleaning. It's a resource. People sell it right now, selling the sand from the river bottom for these construction companies to level up the construction site, for example, right? So back in the days, they've been using the same. So how much time would it take for this instrument, for this machinery to flood the city where you have the biological, for example, hazard or situation where everybody is dead, for example? What should you do with this city? Should you leave it behind, or should you contain it, bury the corpses, for example, hide the evidence that you fucked up as a governance, as a system? You got so many people killed for some reason, for some, I don't know, pandemic, whatever. Who knows what happens? And it was plenty of times during history when the whole city was cleaned up, maybe several people were surviving, and that's it. You can tell it. Just read the fucking books, there's a bunch of cases of that. So what I'm saying is, if you dig deeper under any construction like 19th, 18th century, you would probably find several corpses there inside, underneath. And maybe you can find even more facilities down there. And that's the case in Moscow. Each and every time they, doing the construction, they're finding some bones there. There's a bunch of bones. The people were doing reconstruction in Canada. They found 300, 400 kids there buried underground. The Indian kids. I've been saying this. It's just a whole bunch of cases of that. Nobody's talking about that. Each and every place has this evidence of huge segregation and depopulation evidence where people were just, just a material. So who knows actually when they were replacing the population in certain areas, what they were doing with these people. Maybe they were poisoning them, or maybe just beaten to death, who knows. But it's obviously the way to get rid of the bodies, right? So my first explanation was, why they were flooding this basement, floors. If there's so many people there and there's no basements underneath, maybe that's because there's not a basement floor. Maybe the people were inside the houses, maybe on the first floors, second floors, whatever, and they just put the mud level up to second floor and got rid of all these corpses, and nobody was even digging down beneath unless the construction was funded by somewhere, which is controlled by the city governance, which are giving you permission to construct, and they exactly know what city or what town, what place, what site you actually own and where you're going to plan your reconstruction to, and they give you the assignment. How deep you can dig, can you even dig there, or you have to call somebody, say some specialists and so on. So this is ridiculous. All this stuff, guys. We are grown-ups. We know nothing works this way. If you have a reconstruction of a historical building, you are screwed. You have so many people to pay money to just to do something, right? And it's everywhere. It's not only in my country, it's probably in every country, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but yeah, a lot of people here in Italy start to talking about some instruments with that use frequencies to melt the soil, the floor. But yeah, I don't know that this is possible. But if we are talking about the anxious technologies that we forget, we also have to put inside Tesla energies or the frequencies that we use maybe in the past to make something. I don't know what, but yeah, some people found this link also with the earthquake that was created with a with some things around us, like harp or something similar, no, that put the frequencies somewhere and going to. So what do you think? There can be a link to these things?
Yeah, there's a bunch of liquefaction tests which are conducted by professors in colleges and filmed on YouTube, where you have this little houses put there in the sand, and they start to frequency platform affection, and the platform is shaking like this, and the houses start to sink.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but the problem is the way they're sinking actually during these experiments and during the actual liquefaction events recorded. You can always see where liquefaction comes from, where it's spreading out from. There's a flow. So the houses collapse and lean to the way of the flow, to the current of so-called, I wouldn't say it's a current, but it's the movement of soil in certain direction. It's not only down or but it's towards something, and you can always see that some direction is in generally repeated by each and every house, right? And in the tests, you also see the house starting to turn upside down and sink, lean to the side and sink. So there's no way the house is going to be evenly sinking after the liquefaction process, because there's always a source of the power, and there's always some difference from each side of the house, and it's not going to be sinking evenly. It's going to be sinking, leaning to the side. And if we have a leaning to the side, then we don't have what we observe, because all the houses are standing still and quite geometrically correct, right? We don't have these houses like this, which have a
Like
muffler.
the Pisa
No.
Tower.
Yeah, we don't have it. So why we should be talking about liquefaction in the first place, right? But if we talk about it, we have to know if the house leans a little bit to the certain direction, what we're gonna have. We're gonna have a crack in the wall. Each and every movement of the house, of the foundation base, leaning to some side, turning to some side, gonna process the crack in the wall, crack in the founding walls, and it's gonna be collapsing soon after it started. Or you have to totally reconstruct it. I don't know, fix the foundation. That's a huge project. I would say it's impossible for just every single house. We don't see these reconstructions in the past. We see only construction of the upper floors above these houses that were sunken. That's what we see. And who would be building the upper floors on the houses which were affected by the liquefaction? Point me these stupid dumbass architecture who would pay or who would be paid for this project. Not a single one was, because nobody would be creating the upper floors on the buildings that are being, affected by some earthquake. Really? Tell these people they're supposed to learn first before they, liquefaction is different from what they know, actually,
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for this answer to my question. It was really good. So here we are. I would like to jump a little bit in the future with the geopolitical things, because we're talking about actually last time about it, and we are in the new year in 2023. That some people say that the 23 is the year of the blood. Something can happen. We are waiting something. I don't know what actually, because a lot of people say a lot of things, but also the Pope is dying now. So we have a Vatican without Pope, because the Pope that is inside now is not the real Pope. No, Francesco is not the Pope. It's a quite of well, I don't know who is it actually, but yeah. What do you think about next year? Because I read also a post that you put in YouTube in YouTube, in the comment of YouTube, no? So what can we expect from the 23?
I think we're going to have a brief escalation of the military phase of the conflict. I think the popularity of the figure of Zelensky himself was pumped up so high that right now he's on the top of his popularity level. And pretty much soon he's going to be falling down, and probably will be replaced on some near future by somebody else, or could be replaced if something is not correct in his behavior. So I think this year was supposed to freeze this conflict, but before it getting it's getting frozen. We're supposed to see some escalation. Somebody's supposed to get scared, very scared. It's gonna be either Russian side or the Western side. I don't know the exact script. Perhaps, maybe even offensive operation of Ukrainian army. Who knows? Maybe they can, spend a couple hundred of thousands of their troops and grab some Russian territory and make Putin sign some certain deal, which is not going to be in favor of Russia and going to be played as out Russia lost something, and that's going to be ignition of division of Russia. This scenario is possible, but not during the year, during the several years, I would say. But if we have this freezing of situation, probably we're going to have like two sides again prepared for the future phase of the conflict. And that's going to be the final battle, maybe in 2025, 2026, 2027. That's possibility of this military phase. Concerning the economic situation, what I can see right now is the natural gas price is lowering to the levels of pre-war situation in February. Right now it's $750 per 1,000 cubic meters. So I think this gas valve question and gas price question is pretty much solved by Europeans. So the winter is going to be pretty cold, I believe so, at least. So if we concern this future freezing of the conflict, then probably Europe won't be freezing this winter for sure. We're going to be having as much heat as it wants and as much gas as it wants. So, but in long term, of course, it's all going to be affecting the future, the production, the factories, the employment, and all this stuff. Is not This topic is not yet solved, and I think it's going to worsen even more. So more unemployment, less wages, or maybe the wages in the numbers which are not affecting the reality when you can buy a lot less products on 100 years than you're supposed to buy a year ago, right? Which is obviously observable even right now without this, collapse of economy, which is predicted. But anyways, without solving this situation between Chinese influenced part of the establishment, which is consisting of some British guys, some American influencers, like Democratic Party leaders and so on. And China itself is a huge player in this game, affecting the Russia to continue the war, not give up, and so on. On the other side, you see the same Democratic Party, which is financing Ukraine. So they help in both sides, actually, because that's how it is. If you couldn't understand the situation, you should have been not trading with China, first of all, because China is buying oil and gas from Russia and giving them money to fight. This is ridiculous. You're supposed to sanction China, but you're not sanctioning China because what? Because they're your ally. What are they using China for? They're using China to break down this three-player game between Europe, America, and China. They don't want Europe in this chain, in this food chain. They want China, America, and some sort of countries in Europe which have privilege to be on the same level, but the rest of the countries are going to be junk countries. That's what they want. And actually, in these countries, they're supposed to be living good. Also, they don't want this situation that they have right now because this is ridiculous. They are pumping these countries with immigration, uncontrolled immigration, as what they do in the United States. What for? Because they need new citizens to be voting for their future Imran Khan and other, prime ministers of Britain, which are not British at all, which are bankster affected, Pakistani people. Who's gonna be working for Britain? Are you sure, guys? Go to London and check out where's the British fellows there. I don't see any British fellows, and so on. So I've been talking to a British guy here just lately. He was saying the same thing to me, and I totally confirm what I'm saying. The situation is changing pretty fast, and that's why British folks wanted to get rid of Europe and did this Brexit movement script. It's all just to show that the Europe is sinking and we are surviving on our island as we used to do. But no, you're going down too, guys. You're going down because of the traitors in your country, which fool you as they fool before everybody else, right? So you are no different from Russians or Ukrainians that are being corrupted. They haven't corrupted government for hundreds of years. You're having the same corruption, but on a higher rank, with the more productive managers that are managing you, that you don't even mention this in your thoughts, in your discussions. Yeah, you kind of blame government for everything, but devil's in the details. And these details have been covered by the dome of conspiracy theories and alternative, unknown, fake, false flag narratives. But actually, here we are, and we're in the middle of the process. You're saying next reset. No, we're in the current reset, which they call great. For what? What is so great about it? The great thing is that we are dying very fast, and they're happy about it. That's what they're
Oh, yeah.
great there.
Yeah. That's really, yeah, it's weird to, yeah, to observe this changement. You know, we are in the middle of this big changement anyway, because it's a big changement, I think. But maybe it's not good for sure, but it's a big changement. So I would like to advise to all the people that see this interview together to connect with the Philipp Druzhinin channel YouTube and subscribe to his channel and see a lot of topics that we talking about today and the last interview. So if
So
you
you're
like, you
currently
can,
you're currently on my channel.
yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go.
I don't see the current video. I just made the video today.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
see. I saw it. No, here, this one.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah. So-
YouTube change everything. You if you go
okay,
to the home,
okay. I get
you cannot see it. They put in
okay.
live show on video.
I
Yeah,
see.
stupid. Yeah. But yeah, you can see the last video here. I noticed this night because you have to know that I slept very small time. In the morning was like 4 or something similar. I saw this how say ring coming from Philipp Druzhinin, and I say, oh, let me see what he said. And that was really nice. So I advise to all the people to subscribe to Philipp Druzhinin channel. And I want to advise to you, Mr. Philipp, when you want to come back in my place, in our place in Italy, and in the Point of View channel, because I'm really, really happy to talk with you, to have another point of view of what happening and what happened in the past. So
I
thank you
hope you
very much.
won't get I hope you won't get banned for my interviews. By the way, but you're always welcome to invite me. It's okay. I think we're doing fine, and I'm trying to answer as sincere as I can, actually, and as open and truthfully, from what I experienced, from what I know, and from what my research was showing. Thanks for inviting me. Kapun kap.
Just want to say that I really like your research. So for sure, you're gonna come back again in my place. Thank you
See you.
guys for watching. See you in the next episode. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.